You ready?
Super ready.
Okay, so I'm with Boy Kills World director MORITZ MOHR and producer Simon Stewart. And Boy Meets World just premiered last night at Toronto Film Festival. And got to ask you, how did it go? How did you feel?
It was an overwhelming experience. The crowd, it's like 1,200 people theater. Wow. They were all really excited, and the energy was just unbelievable. And it was completely overwhelming. I was standing on stage, stuttering my way through the introduction, and it was really great.
Yeah, I was telling Simon that I saw it at a press screening with me and another guy, and we just got that sense of, if this room was full, just the adrenaline we'd be feeling at this time. You've got to go to a theater and see it in a communal experience. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's the goal.
Yeah. All right. So give me the basic story of Boy Kills World.
This movie is about a boy. He's growing up in the jungle, being trained by a shaman, played by Yayan Rian. And he's training him to avenge his dead family, to kill Hilda Vanderkoy, who is the city's ruler, and her family. She and her family sort of rule the city, and sort of a bit of an oppressive regime. And so he waits to be ready, waiting for that day where you can actually go out and kill them.
So I've got to ask you, I'm looking at your IMDb. This is your first feature, but I feel like there are gaps missing. And I'm just curious, how did the movie come about? How did the story come about, and how did you get it to feature film?
So we started out 2016 with a proof of concept trailer. We had in Berlin, we had a writer, an action designer, a producer, and a director. And we sort of wanted to make something that we all sort of like and could be proud of. So we shot a sort of 2.5 minute proof of concept for an action movie called Boy Kills World. And it took us about a year to finish it. It was a long, lots of post-production, nobody got paid. And it was all like this really passion project thing. And after a year, a friend of mine who's a producer working at a big German production company asked me if I wanted to join him in LA for the AFM, sort of basically just offering me some space on his couch. Mm-hmm. So I could just hang with him. Yeah. And I was like, all right, that could be fun. So I took the trailer and went there. I had like 3 meetings lined up to show people the trailer. And these 3 meetings led to, I think, around 50 or just 60 meetings. It was complete insanity at one point. And but one of the first meetings was actually with Roy Lee, and Roy Lee sort of put it on Sam Raimi's radar. And I think after 4 days, I met Roy and Sam and Stuart Manischel, and showed them the trailer again, talked about it, and by the end of the meeting, they were basically saying like, let's make this. Let's turn this into a feature film.
I'm curious. I mean, Sam is kind of the king of the dystopian future. Maybe Simon, you could talk about it, but what is Sam's role, and what kind of influence does he have over the entire project? Is it a matter of getting the right people, or is it fairly comprehensive, his role?
You want to get on that, Simon?
Sure. I mean, for us, it was presented to us. It was brought to us. Sam, Moritz, and Roy had already sort of met, and it had been a turnaround at a couple of other places, and through the COVID stopping and starting and so on. And it was brought to us. We were in the market. We like doing things that are crazy and different, but can still be commercial. And it came to us through Alex Lebovicki from Hammerstone Studios and through Capstone. And we saw the project, and obviously having Sam attached and Roy attached was pretty interesting. And then seeing Moritz's short, and then once we met Moritz, we're like, yeah, we can do something wild and crazy here. This is something that interests us because we could see if we turn Moritz loose and with Sam's input and so on, we'd get something very cool out the other end. It would be kind of non-traditional. We didn't want to do a movie that was like everything else that everyone else is doing, kind of thing. And the script really spoke to us. The short script spoke to us, and in talking to Moritz and Sam, it's like we were like, yeah, these guys can do it, and let's go, let's make this, let's start this wild and crazy journey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when you say different, I will definitely agree with it. It's different, it's unique, and you have to, because I think this hyper realized violent film is done a lot. Was it the story of the boy that kind of stuck out to you, or was it the progression of that story of him having to finally get to the big boss, so to speak?
It was the world. I think what Moritz and his team created is this world that's not quite a real world, but it's relatable, and it's kind of I think Moritz's influences are so eclectic and diverse. Bringing them to bear in this sort of creating this world, it really interested us. The fact that you've got your hero can speak or hear. We could tell there are going to be major physical challenges for our lead actor, whoever that was. We loved Bill when we met him. He and Moritz had instant chemistry. He went through a lot of trials, but it's an incredibly physically demanding role, as well as a very performance-driven role, because you have no dialogue. Mm-hmm. And that we knew that would be a challenge just by itself. And then the whole humor of it and the twists and turns you go. David Satowski's vision for the stunts, which he and Moritz had worked on for years, to push the envelope of stunt movies. Yeah, that really interested us. That was kind of very exciting to us. And Moritz, you fill in now. I'll set you up.
Yeah. So to about Sam. Sam really, his approach is to really. He was incredibly supportive, and I think he's been on record saying that he really wants to support his director's vision. Where he's like, so I see what you're doing there, and then he just sort of asks the right questions and really pushes you to do better and get better, and that's a really fantastic way to work, where you got somebody who's so experienced and made so many movies that I love. Evil Dead 2 is one of my favorite movies ever, and I've been making Evil Dead references. I think it's the first movie I made when I was like 17 years old. So he was one of my directing heroes, and meeting him and working with him was all I could have hoped for, because sometimes they say like never meet your heroes, and sometimes that might be true, but in this case it was just like all I could have wished for.
Yeah. So can you give an example of a question he asked, maybe in the realm of the dystopian future?
It was always very story driven and very like storyteller driven, that was like, hey, do we understand the emotional journey that boy is going on? Mm-hmm. Do we understand this? Do we understand? Like, he was really in the story of it. He didn't really get too much involved in the sort of the production design or the world we created that, but he really sort of focused on the stuff that is important to create a functioning and great movie.
Yeah, he was very involved in as much as he would look at the dailies and the footage, but it was really about turning Moritz loose. And I'd say, as a producer, producing with Sam was a pleasure because of his experience and intuition and insight. He wouldn't say, do this, do that, do this, do this. He'd just say, okay, like Moritz said, he said, I see what you're trying to do here. Like, I like the look of this. I like, how about this? How about that? And, I don't know. It's like, he's a guru of sorts. Obviously, he is the great Sam Raimi. Yeah, he's like, he was.
He didn't walk into the room as the great Sam Raimi, you're saying.
Exactly. He's just his experience and his knowledge of story and how to tell it and so on, combined with Moritz's crazy vision. I say, like, they connected. Like, we could tell in the first meeting that they had this creative connection, and it was something that we felt we were very excited to invest in and get behind, trying to make it bring it to reality.
Yeah. So Moritz, was your vision I guess what you brought to the table, was it the violence and the presentation of each of the fight scenes? I mean, that, you know, let's be frank. That's what this movie's about. It's about all these fights.
It was.
Was that your vision? Is that how you see how fights and in film should be, or in your mind should be?
It's like there's so many different versions of a martial arts movie, or a fight movie, or an action movie. And
I should say your style, not the way that you think.
This is our way of doing this. And I respect and admire so many other action filmmakers where the violence is just realistic and hard, and everything hurts all the time, and desperation and blood and sweat. And then there's other movies that sort of focus on the fun aspect, like a Jackie Chan movie, where it's like, yeah, this is a fantastic action movie, but it's completely different than, let's say, 300 or even The Raid. It's sort of all these things, and David Chitarsky, the action designer, and me are fans of all of these movies. And we try to create all these action pieces in the movie as we compared them to musical numbers in a musical. I was like, so this time it's about fun. This time it's the desperation. This is the unstoppable force that is Boy. Like, and towards the end, the fights in the showdown grow more intense and more. They become more brutal. Just sort of compare the first action scene in the factory with the last one. They're quite different. And we were very aware of that. And that was something that we really tried to achieve, like making it diverse. No, not diverse. Yeah, but changing it up.
Yes, absolutely.
Melody.
I felt like, you know, watching them shooting the movie, being on set, what David and Moritz did is each fight, as Moritz says, has its own personality. And they all build on each other. Like, you don't look at the final fight and go, that's the same as that other fight before. They're very, very different in style. Even though the fight style is the same, the choreography of each fight scene is very different. And I loved how they did that. It's not like, oh, that looks like the fight scene from earlier. It's like, oh, wait, it's building on it. It's building. Right. It's escalating.
Well, it defines the character. It defines the character Boy. And, you know, because early on when he's fighting with his sister, you know, there's an element there that defines that character, and then how it progresses over time. And you know, I mean, honestly, that's how you have to do these things. That these movies have to be about the character and that arc it goes through. So there's our film lesson for today.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You need to sort of connect with them emotionally in order to make the action scene relevant. It's not if you don't like the characters, or if you don't feel for them, then the action just becomes completely empty. It could be completely batshit insane and crazy, but you just don't care.
Absolutely.
And it is kind of about mayhem, and it is a story about revenge. And you know what I've always loved about it is that, without spoiler alerts, but you've seen it already, it's like at the end of the day too, it's kind of about the pointlessness of revenge. And also the manipulation behind revenge. It's like you're not always doing things for the reasons you think you're doing.
Simon, don't spoil the movie.
Yeah.
Well, he's seen it already, but it's not a spoiler alert. It's just it's like that extra layer of what a revenge movie is. Yeah. But like you say, it is a roller coaster ride first and foremost.
Yeah. So you're bringing into my next point is the cast. And I do want to talk about Bill, but I do want to specifically hone in on Brett Gelman. You know, you have a very international cast, and nothing makes it more international than Brett Gelman. You know, was he in mind at first? And I mean, his role in this movie is so unique. There are moments where you really sympathize with him, and there's moments where you go, you know, that is Brett Gelman, and he does this. He plays his role perfectly.
Yeah, that Brett was always like my first choice. It was a dream come true getting him agreeing to it and bringing his whole personality into the character. I mean, the way he plays it, nobody else would have played him. So I couldn't even like think of what he would do, really, because obviously a lot of people know him from Stranger Things, and probably a little less people know him from Fleabag. But Fleabag was the moment it was like, oh, he could be perfect. He's such a horrible person in that role. But you sort of kind of sympathize with him, or you find him weirdly charming. And I was like, this is perfect for Gideon. And it was such a pleasure to see him create the character, and I couldn't be happier about it.
Yeah. Well, those of us who know American comedy, we all know Brett Gelman.
I've actually only recently seen his live show in LA, and that was awesome. It was so I hadn't seen the side of him, but I really enjoyed it. It was great. I can only recommend it.
Yeah, and so let's go to Bill, because I don't know where this came in regard to like John Wick 4, but they're very different characters in terms of the physicality that he did in John Wick 4 comes. I mean, he was just sitting there drinking tea, and this one he goes, so where did it fall in, and then what was it about the role that kind of got him on board?
It was literally, so we were doing our first test with Bill, first action test, where we tried to figure out what kind of fighting style would suit his physique and his abilities. We did that. We invited him, and he did all of that while shooting John Wick in Berlin. So when we cast him, we didn't know. I think we knew he was going to be in John Wick. We didn't know to what capacity or something, but it was sort of there. And then it was always like, I wonder who's going to be finished first with the movie or something. We didn't know. We had no idea at that point. Up to that point, Bill is definitely a physical actor, but he hadn't done any action movies. But he was so up for the task, and he was really like, I'm going to train. I'm going to get in shape, and I'm going to fight. I'm going to learn how to fight and put all the work in that needs to be done to learn all the choreographies. And he really wanted to do as much as he possibly could. Sometimes we had to sort of put a break on it because it was like, either too dangerous or it was just not possible in a time frame. It was like, no, we need to shoot it with a double because you need to do something else because we have limited amount of time left, and you can't tear yourself up. So it was really getting him. He was like completely up for the task. He delivered on his initial promise to get in shape, and he gave it his all. And we really we worked him hard.
Bill has this amazing range, right? So he loved the challenge of the martial arts of it. That's something he's really interested in. As Moritz said, he really stepped up to the challenge, but he was also up for the dramatic part too, where he's not speaking. He's not speaking in the movie. It's all got to be on his face. So he was studying classic silent movies and going through some of that, to how he's going to bring this performance to life. And I really think he did it brilliantly, honestly. And he had some very his schedule was really intense. I mean, this is a true indie in the sense of being an indie, and we had a very tight schedule. There wasn't a lot of downtime, I would say, and it was go. And we would have to say, Bill was always happy to do his own stunts, no matter how dangerous it was. And we're going, no, we have insurance. No, we have stunt to do that. And by the way, we need you on second unit right now too. So, or first unit. It's kind of, but he had that ability to bring the intensity, but he also brings the drama and the emotion and the humor. I mean, he's very elastic with what he does with his body and his face and his expressions. It's
elastic is a great word, and he's definitely run through the ringer by the end of it, and it's amazing. And so, two final questions. One is, so the voiceover, does that come into play after it's all over, or I guess how much of what is said in the voiceover was in the script, and how much of it is kind of improvised afterwards?
Well, improvised is the wrong word. if you're sitting in an editing room and going over it over and over again, and they're like, yeah, that could work. But no, obviously the voiceover was in the script, and there are a lot of there were sort of different styles that we used in the movie. Obviously, some is just like normal voiceover, see his face, voiceover, but they also have wanted sometimes to match the reaction on his face to get in that exact moment.
Okay.
So it needed to be timed. And the other thing is the times he interacts with his sister, where she's talking and he's talking, but not talking.
Right.
So that also had to be timed. And it was really it was like a dialogue, and where one person doesn't speak and you had to figure out the timing. And we sort of tried to do it the high-tech way with little in-ears and pre-recording stuff. And we thought about this, and it just took too much time and it didn't work properly. And at the end, we sort of just were like, all right, let's do it old school. Let's do it the classical way. You're saying your lines, we're shooting her, you say your lines as you were normal speaking, and then we record the counter on you, and you just think the lines.
Yeah.
And for the wide shots, we need to figure it out, sort of make the timing work somehow.
Yeah.
But it was a lot. That was challenging just from an organizational point. But in the end, we got really good at it, and just sort of that works now.
Yeah. And I've got to say, the entire sequences with Isaiah Mustafa is hilarious. And well, I'll just leave it at that.
That was fun.
You got to see it.
Fun because he ad-libbed so much, and I think he had just in the script he had like half the lines, because he made up so much stuff just on the I think Golden Toe Jam. Jesus, I don't know. I never heard that word. I was like, this is amazing. But there's also like 5 other versions of this, and he just came up with more ridiculous stuff. And that was great. It was a source of great joy for the director.
Yeah,
well, Moritz, I don't think he used the same line twice. Like in every take, it was something. Yeah, it just took us all off guard. We're just like, what? Yeah. Where did that come from? It's like, what
did he say? Really?
You can imagine Isaiah, Brett, Sholto, and Andrew all sort of ad-libbing and riffing as we go. It was quite a lot of fun with those guys all like, we got the dialogue we needed and all that stuff, but they were all a tremendous amount of fun to work with as they brought their characters to life. And it's funny, even with a movie called Boy Kills World, I mean, Jessica, Famke, and Michelle are incredibly strong women characters as well in the midst of this mayhem,
and strong in very different ways, which is great. I mean, I have to say this cast is one of those where, I can't believe how diverse this cast is, and then I can't believe how well it comes together in the film. And I have to give you kudos on that one. It's because you never think, oh, I'm going to cast a movie and these are my actors. It's like, okay, that's an interesting choice.
No, but it was like it was really like looking at each singular role, and you go like, what's sort of good for this that is not the obvious choice. We got somebody who's played this role a million times already, but I think everybody got something out of it that was slightly different than the stuff.
I'm going to say Andrew Koji. I didn't even recognize him until midway through. It's like, I think that's Andrew Koji.
Andrew Koji, he's known for his martial arts movie Warrior, and he doesn't do any fighting like that in this movie at all. It's and his first table read with us just blew us away. We were like, what the hell is this? And we loved
it. It was coming. Yeah, it was. And funnily enough, it was the Warrior. The show was shot in Cape Town as well. So a lot of the crew knew Andrew from the show, but they didn't recognize him because it was like, this guy was completely different the last time I saw him.
Heavy makeup and then the voice.
And he also he was sort of, from the first time I talked to him, he was already sort of in character.
Mm-hmm.
And he sort of performed even on his very first call, just like this scatterbrained weirdo. And he knocked that out of the park. And I could not have been like more surprised or happier that he brought that to the table, because I certainly didn't think of that. It was like, yeah, the guy should be funny, but like, and there was some funny lines in the script, but this, what Andrew put into this, is on a whole new level, and I'm so happy about that.
They were all so generous in their performance. I mean, everybody was so physical in what they brought to it. We did. I know a lot of people say it. It's a cliche. We had a dream cast. Our cast all the way down to little Quinn Copeland and the Cravetti twins. They were just an astonishing team. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. So last question. And I asked this just because I'm just kind of curious, because after COVID, the whole film festival scene has changed dramatically. So I'm curious, why Toronto versus any other film festival, and then why Toronto versus just a traditional theatrical release? What was it about being at Toronto what was the decision making behind going to Toronto?
The Midnight Madness just really, like, from everybody I've talked to, like, and I have never been here because first movie and all, and Germany is a long way away. Yeah. But everybody was like, when I told them, oh yeah, we're gonna premiere Midnight Madness, they were like, oh, of course, that makes so much sense. And I was like, really? Okay, great. And then like, I see it now. I see why, because it really fits well into this program, and I feel super humbled and proud that, because Midnight Madness has this great history, and so many movies that they showed in the past 30 years are like, I love so many movies of those, like, great stuff, and now I'm sort of in this line. Yeah, and that feels really good.
So I mean, how did the discussion come up of going to Toronto?
Honestly, we thought when we first read the script, we were like, this would be the perfect title to launch at Toronto. We did have that conversation, and then the way the timing worked out, Toronto has an energy, right, where people love movies. They love them. I get other film festivals, they love movies too. But the Toronto audience not only is passionate about movies and the art of movies, but they're also passionate about the fun of movies, the entertainment of movies. They embrace the wild and crazy and the eclectic. It's like, it's.
Simon, you're cutting out.
Yeah, you're breaking up a bit.
So yeah, I think what he says is, it is definitely. It just it seemed like an obvious
vibe. Yeah.
And what he said is also like the timing of it. Like, if we would have been done with 6 months before or 6 months later for some reason or another, maybe it would have changed. Maybe we had to choose a different festival or a different way of premiering it. But since we're in the same realm of a few months or even more, it was lucky us. We can premiere here.
Sorry, I'm back.
Okay, so then,
to add to that, just Toronto had that diversity and fun. They love the art of film, but they love the fun of film, and they have no problem matching them together and appreciating the eclectic and the wild and crazy.
And, no, I could definitely see it when I saw it.
Love the audience. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, so you're at Toronto now. What are the next steps for the film? Is there theatrical coming up soon, or are we still kind of on the festival circuit at the moment?
The next step is we're looking for a U.S. distributor, and then we'll announce the theatrical date from that. We've got some of the foreign territory sold already. So my guess is it'll release theatrically next year in a perfect world, early next year.
Yeah, and it might be great timing for it here in the States if it's sooner than later.
Yeah, exactly. But we're ready to go.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much. Boy Kills World, playing at Toronto, MORITZ MOHR and Stuart Simon. Thank you so much. I appreciate the time you've given me, and absolutely love this film. And so,
thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really, it's good to hear that.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.